Hello everyone, welcome back to the first stream of the new FPL season. Thank you all for joining me. It is going to be the usual burning question slot, but we are still 3 weeks away from the start of the season. So today I'm just going to come on, we'll do a little bit of live tinkering with my team. Sorry, I had my headphone in because I've been told that my stream is a little bit quiet at times, but it seems to be coming through loud and clear. If someone could just let me know that it is all fine, that would be great. But yeah, we're going to get plan FPL up, do a bit of a live tinkering. We'll also answer some of your questions in the chat as well, so feel free to fire them away. I know some of you will be wondering already about Erling Haaland. Fitness aside, as just a dad posting stuff has said in the chat, generally we'll be answering questions based on if Haaland is going to be fine, which is what I currently expect to be the situation. I keep going back and forth in terms of Haaland versus no Haaland drafts, and I know I bang on about it, but it does boil down to that captaincy choice for me. And if you feel comfortable captaining someone that isn't Erling Haaland every week, if you're going with Salah and Isak and something like that, then I think it's fine. But yeah, we'll talk about it. The other thing that might impact it is the availability of Phil Foden. I think people want Manchester City cover going into game week 2 for Ipswich at home. If Phil Foden looks like he's going to start that game, then it adds a little bit to the no Haaland agenda. But if it looks like a doubt whether we're going to get Phil Foden starting that game or not, then that will change things up quite a lot. Yes, there is a Newcastle game going on against Japan. Someone in the chat said Livramento just gave away a penalty, which Nick Pope saved. Isaac has already scored. And I actually built a Haaland Salah draft once that quote from Pep came out about Phil Foden. And I wonder that I might own Haaland and Salah in game week 1. And not captain either, and captain Isak against Southampton. That's my current thinking, that Isak is the best game week 1 captain. Southampton at home is just fantastic. And then we have Salah at the 12:30 kickoff away from home. I don't love as much as I first did. I don't think they're bad picks, but I'm not sure about game week 1 captaincy for them all. But anyway, let us dive in. Yeah, we've got plan FPL up here, and we'll be going through some of the picks. There's lots of stuff in the chat already, so thank you all very much for joining. You've really balanced squad, but really worried about Salah playing out wide and reducing his goals under slot. I've been watching the friendlies, and I don't think he is that wide. I think he's still a good pick, regardless. Plus, he'll be on pens and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I do think that there might be a sort of game week. So if we get Salah's fixture up, there is lots of people talking about a sort of game week 6 wildcard, which, like, I don't want to go to these fixtures without Salah, but it might be when game week 6 wildcard comes around, we review Salah's positioning. Someone like Dominic Szoboszlai could be interesting as well at a cheaper price. Luke on Gvardiol. Gvardiol wasn't attacking versus Barca, but he got an assist. He played centre-back, though. His role in the team was a little bit different to what we expect to do. Basically, they didn't have any of their fit centre-backs back from the Euros yet. So, Stones wasn't there. Akanji's not back yet. Diaz wasn't back. So he played in a centre-back position along with Calvin Phillips. And for him to have been in the position that he was playing at centre-back, I actually think is pretty good news, to be honest. So I'm still very, very positive about Gvardiol. So let's talk about a few things. And please do write in the chat as much as you can about potential picks for everything that we are going to go through. Is it pronounced Gvardiol or Gvardiol? So, starting off in goal, I think goalkeeper is the hardest position, but also it's also the easiest position because there's going to be the least amount of discrepancy between a high-scoring and low-scoring goalkeeper this season. But I do find it difficult to know exactly who it is that I want to pick. I do fancy the Forest goalkeeper. They do have a friendly on Friday, which we're hoping that Carlos Miguel does start in. But we'll have to wait and see. If it's Sells in there, I still fancy him, but I do like Carlos Miguel. A few people going with Flecken as well. The good thing with Flecken is you can have the backup as a 4.0 on the bench, so you can have both the first choice and the second choice option at Brentford. Yeah, you could have both of them. The opening fixtures are not that great though. Like Liverpool, City and Spurs away in the first 5 is not great. I think Flecken will be really popular on like a game week 6 wild card because the fixture run after that's really nice. But I don't think he's going to be my game week 1 goalkeeper. The other one is Henderson, which just feels like the, bog standard, the bog standard 4.5 that people will go with. If they don't want to risk Carlos Miguel, I think the new Chelsea goalkeeper will come in at 5 million, I think is what they'll do. I think they'll see how many people went for the existing Sanchez option, and I think they'll make him 5. So as a result, I think a lot of people will go Henderson. It feels like just the, standard, decent enough fixtures were good last year pick. But I'm wondering about Carlos Miguel. So those are my probably top 2 goalkeepers for me at the moment. You fancy Miguel and also Murillo in defence. Yeah, Forest are linked with Ramsdale as well. And if Ramsdale was to come in, he would be popular as well. So he's 4.5. Yeah, and if he goes to Forest, then they don't need any keepers. But yeah, absolutely would be looking at Ramsdale. So for me, Forest and Palace are up there. If the new Chelsea keeper comes in at 4.5, then that is of interest. The first fixtures are actually pretty good. I worry a little bit about clean sheets for them though. The clean sheet games that I'd look at are Bournemouth, West Ham, Wolves and Palace, but 3 of those are away from home. That's the only concern. Yeah, so goalkeepers there's a lot going on in goalkeepers for FPL at the moment. So what I would say is have the price point. Understand if you want a 5 million, if you want a Raya, if you want a 5 million, then consider it. If you want a Leno, their fixtures are pretty nice. If you wanted a Martinez, then you could go there. If you want a Raya, then that's also fine. But understand the price points that you want. And then when we get closer, if you want to change the 4.5 goalkeeper you've got is fine. Chelsea are not linked to sign London anymore. They have signed their new goalkeeper. He's not priced in FPL at the moment. I think he'll come in at 5 million though. Pope is another interesting one. I just don't love the Newcastle defence. I don't think Pope's worth 5 million. Like they've conceded again today. Like I look at those fixtures and if you swap their fixtures round and it wasn't Southampton at home on the opening day, then I don't think people would necessarily be going there. Let me just check. Is it Pope in goal today? Well, they have just conceded. Yeah, but he did save a pen. But I just don't see that many. Like, if you look at the first 6 fixtures, how many clean sheets do you really think they're going to keep? Like, Bournemouth, Wolves and Fulham are all away from home. I don't love as much. 3-4-3 versus 3-5-2. I personally prefer a 3-4-3 because the bench options for the midfield spot in that 5th midfielder is better than the forward spots. Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to get Pope. Pope is also more expensive than the defenders. Yeah, Pope's looking good, but their defense is shaky. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So generally, my top 2 picks are Carlos Miguel and then Henderson if we don't have clarity on the Forest goalkeeper. The other thing that, of course, could happen is Forest sign Ramsdale after the start of the season. People are sleeping on Muric. So, with the way that bonus points are awarded this year, getting saves is unlikely to get you bonus. You need keepers that are going to keep clean sheets. I understand from game week like 3 onwards, the Ipswich fixtures are pretty nice. But yeah. Like, I'd rather 2 4.5 goalkeepers than go for Pope, for example. I don't love rotating keepers, but I'd rather 2. Yeah, you could go Muric, but Muric would have lost every single one of his bonus points last season from the new change in bonus. So that's just something to be cautious of. There are no 4.0 goalkeepers at the moment, so there's no real point in diving into them. So let's do defenders. A lot of people are starting to build a structure with 2 premiums. So like Gvardiol, Trent, for example. Can I... Let me just put like... Sorry, I just want to change the formation. Oh, I can't. Fine. A lot of people are going with two premium defenders and then lots of 4.5s. Trent's an interesting one. If you think the value is going to be there, those opening 6 fixtures are really, really good, and that's what I look at with them. And I find it difficult to go without, particularly if I go without Salah, which is possible. I definitely would then want Trent. Virgil for safety, interesting. I mean, I definitely would go Trent over Virgil if you have the money. Sorry, yeah. Pickford in goal is one I didn't mention. I have a Mikalenko staring at me at 4.5 that I find difficult to go without. What defensive options are you all looking at? Gusto's interesting because he'll start the first 3 whilst James is injured, and then the issue is you'll have to sell him after that. James will come back in, so that's the issue with Gusto. Of course, if James gets injured, Gusto could be a nice pick, but they did put him at 5. Like, that's the same as Munoz at Palace. Like, I would never advise someone to pick a Gusto over a Munoz. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? 174 in. Hello. Yeah, Arsenal is interesting. So you've got Arsenal, you've got White, you've now got Calafiori. I just think I'd pick Saliba. Calafiori can play left centre-back. I think he will play left-back. But you've got Julian Timber, who can also get decent minutes at left-back. And then Calafiori could take minutes off Gabriel. I don't think it will happen. But in game week 1, I would just pick Saliba. So he's my favourite of the Arsenal ones. And then you've got someone like a Pedro Porro. So these are probably my top 4 premium defenders. I don't advise owning all 4 at the moment. I probably would go for 1 or 2 of them. I see people building teams with 3 premium defenders. And my only issue with that is there's so much value in the 4.5s that I just find I want a 4.5 in my starting lineup just because there's such good value there. And then like a Barco, right? So if you have 3 premiums of 4.5 and a Barco, like, when are you ever playing Barco? That's the thing. Everton leaking goals, yeah, but if you look at the lineups for the Everton team, like, they are all over the place. There's no real first choices in a lot of those lineups at the moment for Everton. So I'm holding judgment on the Everton defences, but yes, they haven't looked great in pre-season yet, but it's not really a first choice. It's not really a first choice lineup. So in terms of the cheaper options, you've got, so in terms of these 4, I mean, at the moment I like Trent, Gvardiol. Those are the 2 that I've got. Saliba is very good as well. I fully expect 2 clean sheets in the first 3 for them. So that's pretty good. But then I look at like Gvardiol and think in the first 4, they could also keep 2 clean sheets. And I think Gvardiol could get an attack and return on top of that. So for me, I prefer Gvardiol over the Arsenal options. And if you can stretch to Trent, great. If not, Gvardiol and a Saliba definitely works, is where I'm at. The slightly cheaper options, so if we go max price 5, there's only one 5 million defender I would be considering, and that is Munoz of Crystal Palace. All of the others I don't feel like are as good as him. He is so good going forward for that Palace side, and they look decent defensively. So that's where I'm at. Robertson as well. Robertson is a slight doubt though. If we got positive news on Robertson before the start of the season, then great. That injury keeps coming back. And suddenly he'll miss a game, and then, yeah, I'm not sure I'll start with Robertson. But if we get positive news between now and the start of the season, but the latest I heard on Robertson is he's just like not available for their tour. So Munoz is the best for 5 million, and I personally prefer him over like a João Pedro. But you can also go Anderson at Palace, who's 4.5. But the attacking threat in Munoz is worth it if you have that 0.5 spare. I do think it is worth looking at. Those opening fixtures are decent enough. 3 at home in the first 5. The away game is Brentford, and then they've got Chelsea away. Thoughts on Murillo? Yeah, not a bad option at all. Forest did look really good defensively, so I've got nothing against that. If Willy Bolly is nailed as well, he is slightly more of an aerial threat, is the only thing I would say there. Then wildcard, you can do yours for the first 6. First 6 game weeks, first 5 game weeks in the wildcard is very popular. The reason people want the first 5 rather than the first 6 is the Arsenal fixtures. So if I put Saliba in there, lots of people aren't picking Arsenal options, and then they'll wildcard in game week 6 to get like 2 Arsenal or something. So that's why a lot of people are having a look at a wildcard there. So if we go with Trent Gvardiol, let's put Saliba in instead of Trent. Let's say people can't afford that, because a lot of you in the chat are liking that. Then you're looking at, as I said, I really like Munoz. The cheap option, I think, is just Barco. I think it is worth running the risk on him at the moment. There is a chance that he plays in that lineup alongside Estupiñán as well. If they go for a back 5, which is very possible, Barco can play left wing back with Estupiñán at left centre back. It is possible that Barco keeps his place. And I don't think the other 4.0s are worth it unless you're having 2 of them. So I would just go with Barco. I think it is worth the risk. Are you no City attack since Foden news? So I will have a new draft out. I'm 50-50 on whether I go Haaland because of the injury news that we had today. Then you're looking at a 4.5, right? Let's sort by owned descending. So lots of people are, like Estupiñán is injury prone for sure. People are going Burn. Again, like Nick Pope, I don't really get it. He's likely to be playing at centre-back. The opening fixtures are not that great. I neglected Maatsen. Do we know that Maatsen's nailed? They have 3 left-backs in Dean, in Alex Moreno, and now in Maatsen. Like, do we know that he's nailed? That's where I'm at with it at the moment. I don't feel confident enough on it that I'd rather pick Munoz for game week 1. Because game week 5 will roll around and they'll start the Champions League rotation. And that left-back spot, we saw last year that there was so much rotation in it when they played Europe. And I just feel like it'll be the same again. Chelsea centre-backs. So Livramento will be nice if Trippier leaves. Chelsea centre-back will be... there's not enough attacking threat. I think I prefer some of the others. I'm not certain on Chelsea. They've been leaking goals in pre-season so far. 230 of you in and watching, 35 likes. Welcome everyone. If you haven't already, please drop a like on the stream. Subscribe if you are new around here. And Fantasy Football Scout are offering 40% off at the moment if you do want to sign up and use their membership, which I do use all throughout pre-season. But yeah, the Haaland muscle injury, I'm sure he'll be fine. Just don't need to take risks during pre-season. Jacob Murphy's been doing really well in pre-season. He scored again. He scored again. How much is he? 5.5 though. That's too much. Then you're looking at, you need a 4.5. Robinson. You've got Mikalenko. You've got Anderson. You've got Burn. You've got Konza. Yeah, most of those are the popular ones. I personally like Mikalenko if he turns out to be fit for the start of the season. You'll also know, if you've seen my video, he rotates really well with Barco. So game week 4 and game week 2. Game week 2, you play Barco at home to United, and game week 4, you play him at home to Ipswich. That's why I like Mykolenko. It doesn't work so well with Anderson. It works okay, but game week 4, you'd want to play them both. Burn, it doesn't work really. So that's why I like Mykolenko. That's why I like Mykolenko. Pep being very cautious with Haaland. Is there a chance City go 2-0 up against Ipswich and he subs them off to be safe? I mean, potentially, but if they go 2-0 up, it's very possibly scored twice. What do I think about Bernardo at 6.5 or Bob at 5? The one I'm actually keeping an eye on is Grealish. 6.5 if he gets that spot back. I just think he's much better for that lineup than Doku is. Yeah, Ryan Sessegnon is absolutely one I'm keeping an eye on. He's 4.5, and if he plays on the wing, he will be the best 4.5 option by far. He has ability to play on the wing. So yeah, absolutely one I will keep an eye on. Let's see what happens in pre-season. Yeah, no pre-season for Everton's first 11 defence so far. Which 4.5 for not getting price fall? I mean, you've got to get the ones that will do well. If you're really worried about price falls, you're probably best off picking the ones that just have the best opening fixtures on their own. So that's something like an Anderson or like a Konza. Like the fixtures are so good that people just won't be selling Konza if you go for him. Barco as well, I think, is only going to go up in price. Johnson or Nkunku. I'd go Nkunku. I think he's the best value player in the game. I released a video this morning on my main channel about value players. Both of them are in that, but I think Nkunku is better value, particularly given the fixtures. So let's have a look at some midfielders. How are people feeling on Mo Salah? Yeah, Burn will drop in price if he loses his place. Absolutely. Let's put this back up. I do think people will go with Mo Salah. I just think those fixtures to open the season are too good to not... Like, that is such a risk that they do click. Like, Salah could score... He could be top of the Golden Boot race on 8 goals or 6 goals over those first 6. Like, if Szoboszlai looks like he's going to continue the number 10 and be so far forward, then it is worth it. The only thing I would say on Szoboszlai is he played very far forward and he scored in the most recent game, part of because they played Harvey Elliott up front. So Harvey Elliott did want to drop back, whereas... And that allowed Szoboszlai to go forward. When they play a Gakpo or Darwin through there, I'm not sure exactly on Szoboszlai's positioning. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Tom. You're on no Salah for the first 6 games. I think Salah for the first 6. Salah is wider. He's still getting chances, though. Still getting chances. If we knew there was another Liverpool attacker who was nailed, then I would very much consider going without Salah. But I don't have that at the moment. Szoboszlai versus Jota. Again, if we knew Jota was going to be nailed. But I just think Gakpo will start once he returns. Son going under the radar, absolutely. So if in this draft, if we go up front, let's build the forwards first. So I think I'm going to not put Haaland in this just because it allows for a little bit more of discussion, and I think that there's obviously the injury doubt with him. Like, I'm not going to discuss Isak for me. He has to go in. And I think if you're not going Haaland, you go Watkins or you go Havertz. So I will see who you say in the chat, whether it's Watkins or Havertz. But I think if you're going no Haaland, Isak, and then one of Watkins, Havertz just goes in. Like, that is the forward structure for me. If you really wanted to punt on Solanke in there, then potentially, but I don't think I would. Of course, if Tony gets a move, you could look at that. But at the moment, I'm one on Watkins versus Havertz. I imagine people in the chat will go Watkins, though. I imagine people will go Watkins. Rank Chaser saying Havertz. We've got David saying Havertz. We've got Blue saying Havertz. Fine. So let's put Havertz in there for now then. The first four replies were Havertz before we got a Watkins. Let's go with Kai Havertz in there. And then I think there is so much good value in that forward line that I think you'll go for 3 up front. Whether it's an Armstrong. And the thing is, with Armstrong, people are put off by that opening game. But after that, the games are pretty good. Chris Wood as well looks very good in pre-season. And the fixtures go all the way up to game week 10 looking really, really nice. Arteta is a bit more, yeah, he is positive on Jesus and Martinelli, but I just think it will be Havertz. I agree with the chat. But the one for me at the moment is Muniz. Like, those opening 6 games do look really solid. The only, like, Forest away, but like 3 home games, playing 2 newly promoted sides in the first 3. Do people prefer Muniz or Chris Wood? Well, we could go. A few people are suggesting in the chat and put Muniz and put Chris Wood in there. And we'll have a look at what that does. Let's drop Barco for now. Let's have a look at what that does for the midfield. It does free up a lot of money. So, how do people feel on the premium mids at the moment? So, if we look at the likes of Palmer, Saka, Foden, Son. Is Bailey a good option? If so, I would go Bailey over Rodgers if I had the money for it, yeah. Taiwo Wanyi take minutes from Wood. He will, but I think Wood will start games. I think Son is going massively under the radar. And the reason I say that is because last year, Son was 10 million. And everyone else we're comparing him to was 8, 7, 6 million. Yet we all still picked Son at 10 million. And now Son is still 10 million. And everyone else is now the same price. And now suddenly we don't want him. Like, that's my thinking on Son. Like, surely he's really good value because he hasn't moved in price. Yet we still picked him last year when he was worse value. So I'm going to put Son in there for now. And I agree with, I'm not going to build this draft without Nkunku in it. I just think, I like Palmer as a pick, and I am a Chelsea fan. I think Palmer is our best player. But from an FPL point of view for value, I can't look past Nkunku at 6.5. 4 million cheaper than Palmer. I just can't look past it. Now, this leaves us 16 million for 2 mids left, which is, you know, we could go for another. Given that we didn't go Havertz, you could go Saka, and that leaves you 6 million for a midfielder or something like that. Let's not go double in there. Let's just put Fabianski in there in goal. So let's go 1 goalkeeper for now. And if we go Saka, Son, Salah and Nkunku, it leaves us 6.5 for a midfielder. And that's where we start to pick these value midfielders, which I definitely think are worth having a look at. 6.5. Son and Bruno. I just think Bruno's slightly too expensive. Saka and Gibbs White. Yeah, Gibbs White. We've got Wood though, so do we want to double up on that? Eze. If we had the 0.5, it would definitely be Eze. If you want to find a place in this team for me to free up 0.5, then I absolutely would put Eze. I would absolutely put Eze. If Spurs get more pens, Son can be better than Palmer and Saka. I agree. Bailey is incredible value. Yeah, that's true. Let's put Leon Bailey in there as a first port of call. We'd probably bench Nkunku in this one in game week 1 as well. Game week 2, you'd probably bench Leon Bailey. Game week 3, you'd be evaluating who you bench. Get Eze. Wood down and get Eze. We can definitely do that. So you could do Wood to Armstrong. Let's go all. And then you can do Leon Bailey to Eze. That also works. Brennan Johnson, also one to look at. Something like that. And then you can play something like that. And then you can rotate these sort of Eze and Nkunku Armstrong picks in your team. So, yeah, like game week 1, you'd bench Armstrong. Game week 3, you'd bench Eze. Things like that. Minte. So the Brighton mids are definitely intriguing to me. At 5.5, Minte could be very nice. I currently have Hudson-Odoi in my draft, and I wonder about this guy instead. Am I keen on a more expensive 8th attacker, or as opposed to a 4.5 fodder? That's why in a lot of my drafts, I'm building a 3-4-3, because if we take out like Saka, for example, and go to a Rodgers, what I said in my value video from today, the upgrade from a 4.5 mid to a 5 mid in Rodgers or someone else is the best 0.5 investment you can make in your entire team. Upgrading a 4.5 goalkeeper to a 5 goalkeeper, nowhere near as good value for that 0.5. Upgrading a 4.0 defender to a 4.5, if you to sit on your bench, nowhere near worth it. An Armstrong to a Muniz, there's not as good value there. I would definitely, if you're playing a 3-4-3, upgrade your 4.5 mid to Rodgers and just sacrifice somewhere. So like an Eze to an Anderson, right? An Eze to an Anderson at Palace. An Eze and Munoz to an Anderson at Palace massively frees up money. Now, who did we have in here? We had like Saka in there, didn't we? Yeah. So something like that. That's why I don't love the 3-5-2, because I think there's enough good value picks at that cheap price. Now we can try and fit Erling Haaland in here. Haaland. If you want a Haaland draft, you're looking at something like that. So you're looking at Saka and Son out to a Rodgers and another cheap option. So Smith Rowe, someone's saying in the chat. Absolutely, you could go there. Let's put Smith Rowe in, who's now at Fulham, of course. And then you can rotate that as and how you want. With this team, you'd probably bench Muniz in game week 1. So it is possible. And a Haaland draft that looks like this, it's definitely strong enough. This has even got 0.5 in the bank. So like you could upgrade a Rodgers to a Hudson-Odoi or something like that. Like this as a Haaland Salah draft, it does look pretty nice. I don't think Gordon will. I think Isak is almost essential. Yeah, you'd get rid of Saliba to a 4-5 defender and upgrade the mid. You could do that as well if you want to go Haaland. So you could go Saliba down to a. Let's just put Konsa in for now. And then that leaves you 1.5. You could go up from a Hudson-Odoi to a like 7 mil. So any of those. We've already got Eze. So maybe that becomes like a Gibbs White or something like that. So you definitely can do it with Haaland. You can also do it without. If you wanted to go, you could even go Trent in here, right? You could even go Trent in here. Leaves me 2 mil short, like a Hudson-Odoi to a Rodgers. And then like an Anderson to a, I don't know, Harwood Bellis, that's the one. So again, like looking at this, you can get Haaland in, you can get Salah in. You are just relying on a Kulusevski scored. Interesting. I was surprised to see he started. SofaScore also has him up front, but I don't think that is going to be the case. Don't think. Does it have average positions on SofaScore yet? No. Is anyone watching the Spurs game? Bailey and Brennan Johnson are nailed. They won't play 90 minutes every game, but Son assist. So Kulu is playing in the 9. Wow. Interesting. Wow, interesting. Kulu did start. I'll have a look after, because SofaScore has him at 9 with Son on the left wing, which I'm surprised at. But so you can build a nice Haaland Salah draft if you want to, if you trust the budget option. So this is basically what it boils down to. There are 3 questions you need to answer yourself when trying to decide whether you want Haaland, Salah, or one. I just don't think neither is viable. I want the captaincy from them. The thing to answer with the 3 of them is, are you happy with your captaincy rotation without going for either Salah or Haaland? Does your captaincy rotation look strong enough without both of them in? If the answer is yes to that, then that's fine. The next question to answer is, do you think that the likes of Palmer, Son, Foden, Saka are worth the money that you're paying for them? If the answer is yes, again, and you're happy with the captaincy rotation without Salah and Haaland both being in your team, then that's also fine. And the final thing to ask yourself is, do you think the value picks in the 5.5 up to 6.5 options in both midfield and the forward line will perform? And if the answer to that is no, then that's the case. Then you think, well, you need to ditch one of them. If you think the cheap mids in the likes of Nkunku, Eze, Smith Rowe, Hudson-Odoi, Rodgers, Muniz, Chris Wood are going to perform close enough to the likes of Foden, Saka, Palmer to warrant going with Haaland and Salah, that's when you start picking them. Now, you can do a no Salah draft. The only thing is it doesn't actually change that much. So let's put Saka in here for now. You get 2.5 mil back. You look to upgrade a Smith Rowe to a Gordon or something like that. Like, it looks really solid as well. You can do something that looks like that pretty easily. Best caps in game week 2 without Haaland, Salah. That's the concern. I don't like game week 2 without the 2 of them. Yeah, I don't love that without Haaland, Salah. Palmer away at Wolves. You could still captain Isak away at Bournemouth. If you go Foden, you could do that. If you have Son, you could do that. But it's not that comfortable. Yeah, Murphy scored again. Oh, what, a third? Wow. He is killing it. He is killing it. 5.5 mid. Murphy, if you're a regular starter, can we consider? I mean, we absolutely could. That's interesting to me. Because you could save yourself a lot of money. If he could be your 5.5 mid, that would be really interesting for the start of the season. What current players do you have in now that's different from your updated draft video? I don't have Foden in it, basically. I don't have Foden, and I've reinvested that money elsewhere. I need to have a look, because there'll be a new draft video over the weekend. But Murphy could even fill this. Like, you could go Rodgers to Murphy. So let's keep an eye on how Murphy gets on. Let's keep an eye on how Murphy gets on. Anyway, that is a first sort of tinker. This is the draft we've somehow stumbled on at the end of the stream, but we've gone through quite a few combinations of Salah, no Haaland, Haaland and Salah, no Salah, and we've somehow stumbled on triple Newcastle attack. I'm not sure that would be the way I would start, but we've been going through a few things. Burning Questions will officially be back next Wednesday, and then there'll be a Burning Questions episode the week of the start of the Premier League season as well. Thank you all very much for joining. If you haven't already, please like the stream. We'll be back next week. There's videos on my channel as well. If you want to go and check them out, I released one this morning on underpriced and a few picks. Yesterday's video was overpriced as well, which includes a lot of players who I'm seeing people pick that I'm not certain on, particularly Dan Burn and a few of the other cheap defenders. But yes, that is the stream for today. Burning Questions will be back next week. I hope this was useful, just to sort of thought process out loud on some of the drafts. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Please like the stream if you haven't already. And I'll see you all again next week. Thanks, everyone.